hello again. It's Pastor Dave here with our weekly update. Hope your week is off to as wonderful a start as a weatherman has gotten us off to. It's just a beautiful, beautiful week, and it looks to be that way. So I pray that is going to be your experience this coming week. You know, we're very busy at the church here, getting things kind of in the finishing preparation modes for our return to in-person worship this Sunday on July the 5th. You've heard me talk a great deal about that. We're going to talk a little bit more about that here today and then later on in the week as well. But you know, before we jump into some specifics around that during our update, I wanted to share a little bit of scripture with you around this. I have been spending time in the last couple of weeks around 15 very specific Psalms. I've talked with you about this before, though not for some time, but Psalms 120 to 134 are often referred to as the Psalms of Ascent. You know, for us, the Christian life really is a climb, isn't it? It's a growth curve. Our spiritual maturity, it goes on over time. It's a journey of constant growth that sometimes it knows sacrifice and sometimes it knows a time where we really need to trust God for things that we cannot see or understand, like this time that we're in right now. You know, Eugene Peterson is somebody that you know, has gone to be with the Lord now, but he was an important writer, and I learned a lot from him, though I never met him. He says, we are all pilgrims, but we are also disciples, always moving and always learning. And isn't that true about us? And, you know, these Psalms really speak to that. The Psalms of Ascent, they're sung by worshipers as they made their way on the journey up to Jerusalem in the Old Testament times, because they would have annual feasts there. And I say journey because they really had to journey. They had to go and sometimes travel over some difficult terrain to go and be with God, because God during that time resided in the temple at Jerusalem for them. And so they wanted to do that. And I've been reading these because really what this is about, it's about a people returning to the church, returning back to worship God. And I found these to be really valuable for me. I want to share one of them with you here today. It's Psalm 123. I'm going to read you the version from the Christian Standard Bible. That's a good translation. Psalm 123, and in this translation, it's entitled, Looking for God's Favor. Listen to what it says. It says, I lift my eyes to you, the one enthroned in heaven, like a servant's eyes on his master's hand, like a servant girl's eyes on her mistress's hand, so our eyes are on the Lord our God until he shows us favor. Show us favor, Lord. Show us favor. For we've had more than enough contempt. We've had more than enough scorn from the arrogant and contempt from the proud. Boy, as much as that was a song of them ascending up into Jerusalem to get back to the temple, you know, it was really a song for them about who they were. You know, somebody that the world had kicked around a little bit, and they were going home. They were going back to the temple to be who they were made to be by then their Yahweh God. And I just can't help but thinking about that as we start to come back into our church building for our in-person worship session. So I wanted to share that with you this morning. The Lord has favor, because we've had more than enough of what the world has had for us. And so for us to show up here, literally to journey back to his house is good. And I want to be intentional about this too, because not all of you are going to come back this Sunday. And that's okay. We've had a great time of fellowship virtually during our Sunday services and our weekly Bible studies and prayer nights, and God is showing us favor through those times too. So I don't want to put a burden on you that making you feel like you have to be here this Sunday. I've said to you all along, and I'll continue to say this to you. It's okay if you don't come this week. We're going through our preparations to make it safe if you choose to come, but if you don't, that's okay. We're still planning to provide lots for you in the online format. I do want to say just a few things briefly during our update here about the opening of the church. As I said, preparations are certainly underway. So we've got a very specific plan in place for how you can enter the building, how to keep you safe while you're in the building, and how to get you out of the building. I said earlier, and I just remind you again, we're aiming for between a 30 and 40-minute service. So this is going to be Communion Sunday for us. So it'll probably be closer to 40 minutes than 30 minutes. But again, recall, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be what we're used to before. I've said to you, and I continue to believe, God is going to work very powerfully during these new worship formats. We've seen him do that when we haven't even been together, and I know that he's going to be faithful and show us favor in this same type of format. We certainly have lots of room for our regular attenders. We have a very specific seating plan in place, so we'll show you a little bit more about that later on. And we've also got a specific room for guests too. We know we've had some people reach out to us already that are interested in coming back this Sunday that aren't regular attenders with us. So I'm going through a process of reaching out. So some of you, when you listen to this, you'll know that we've communicated by phone or by text or Facebook Messenger or something like that. And so if I've not done that yet, go ahead and reach out to me or know that I'll be trying to reach out to you. I'm trying to get that done by the end of the day on Wednesday. A couple key points, and we'll keep reminding you about this. Number one, if you have not been to our website, please go to the church website, and you'll see very specifically there a page totally dedicated to the guidelines that we have in place for attending this Sunday. There's a few important ones that I'll just mention. One, we really would ask you not to attend the church building prior to 9:45. So our service is going to be at 10 a.m., but we want to keep people as safe as possible and move them into the building and get them seated and keep them at a safe and respectable distance from a safety standpoint. And so we would ask that you be intentional about not arriving before 9:45. You could really help us out with that. And then, as I've said a couple of times here, this Friday we're going to release a very specific video that will be entirely dedicated towards taking you through parts of the church building that are going to be opened during our Sunday service, so that you can see the safety measures and you can see some of the things that we've had to set up to make sure that we can accommodate people and accommodate the regulations and guidelines that we're having to operate under. So please don't miss that. I'll put lots of emails and different things out so that you are reminded of that. But look for that on Friday. And as I said just a couple of minutes ago, folks, if you're not planning to attend this Sunday, please don't let that cause you stress, or please don't let that cause you burden. We're going to continue with our online format as well. So there'll be a worship service there for you. We're going to do communion on that worship service too. So there's no need to worry about missing out on that. And as you feel comfortable, and we'll continue to communicate with you about how we make changes or have to tweak things here, we'll continue to keep you apprised of that. And when you're ready, our municipality opens up a little bit more, then maybe you'll feel welcome. Or certainly be welcome, but maybe you'll feel more comfortable coming back at that time. And that's perfectly okay. There's no issues with that whatsoever. So I just wanted you to hear me say those words, and I'm going to keep repeating those words too. This is a place that should bring you comfort, not burden. Just a couple quick reminders too, our Wednesday evening Bible study. We're getting towards the end of our study through the book of James. kind of parallels the sermon series that we're on. And so, it's not too late to jump into that. You hear me say that every week, but I mean that. So if you wanted to jump in that, by all means, you're welcome to do that. Just let me know and I can get you connected to that. Thursday night is our prayer night where we're praying for the community. The different churches in town come together to do that on Facebook. We're still doing that in a recorded format, but we're working out some things there where we'll actually move that to more of a live format a little bit later on this month. Friends, we're excited to see those of you that are going to be here. But more than anything, we're excited to see how God is going to continue to use this time. He has been so good and so faithful and so generous, and He's provided so much for us during a time where many people thought the church would decline or the church would close down. And many churches have not experienced that, and we certainly have not experienced that. And I just feel that, starting this week, we're off into a new season again, and I'm excited about that. Have a great rest of your week. Look forward to seeing you at some of our online events if that's appropriate for you. Blessings. Have a great week.